So when I was doing kind of some research on the history of headaches, I was greatly surprised to discover that was one of the first maladies recorded in ancient Egypt. And even back to, let me see, I'm going to scan this really quick, Mesopotamia. There were headache remedies from 4000 BC that they unearthed. And they thought then that the headaches were caused by this evil spirit called Tu. And anybody could have a headache in ancient Mesopotamia, regardless of age, gender, or social status. So poor people, rich people, people close to the gods. And in those days, the 4000 BC, the most common remedy was irritation. So they thought that by doing a counter irritation on the surface of the skull, that it would help alleviate the pain inside the head. May or may not be true. So what they did was they shaved the head and applied counter irritants. It might have been a good distraction from the pain minimally, but also in the 1500 BC in Egypt, even like, as I've written, even in the handout, even gods could have headaches according to ancient Egypt. And Isis in the mythology, Ra had a headache, and Isis came up with a formula, herbal formula, to help with his headache. And it was coriander, cumin, juniper, wormwood, honey, and opium. And so I was looking at that formula and I was thinking, coriander, cumin. So I can see those are moving blood, right? So we're approaching this from a vascular situation. We've got to get the blood moving, dilate the vessels. And then we have juniper. And I am not sure this is the same juniper that we have here, because this would be a Middle Eastern juniper, but I'm going to assume it is or a related species. And I'm thinking juniper activates the kidneys, if nothing else, and increases microcirculation throughout the kidneys, so there is greater elimination. And then wormwood, and now we've got like things happening in the liver, activation, potential parasite approach, and antiviral, antibacterial, anti-infective, reduces pathogens in the body. And as we talk about wormwood here, it's a nice little thing, like as a mugwort to put in a dream pillow, but they put opium in there too, which had to be doing some pain killing along with it. So I thought that was a really interesting combination, and not one I would have thought about, because those are not the herbs I tend to go to first, because they're not Western herbs, but I could totally see how that would work. And then there was also a formula in the Ebers Papyrus from ancient Egypt, that was frankincense, cumin, ulan berry. Not sure what that is, and I just couldn't find a good description on the internet to be able to tell you, and goose grease. And that was boiled all together. And so I'm thinking frankincense, I can totally see that. And here we have cumin again. So, and in these ancient headache remedies where I was digging around historically, cumin comes up over and over and over. And I'm thinking this has got to be the blood mover. And so, but we'll come back to blood movers here shortly on the headache. Also, the Egyptian writing included willow bark, which I thought was really interesting, and salicylic acid in a natural form. And I totally could see where that could definitely result in a less painful headache reduced inflammation. And so other plants that you may be familiar with that has some salicylic acid in it is meadowsweet, of course, and cramp bark, black haw, wintergreen, red root, black cohosh, thyme, rosemary, magnolia, dogwood, and green and black tea. And so sometimes, depending on the kind of headache, you might have something as simple as some willow bark or meadowsweet or black cohosh, which is a really good remedy for headaches that hurt behind the eyes too. So you're having pain across here, like across the top of the forehead, pain behind the eyes, and pain in the back of the head, which is kind of classic tension headache symptoms. So Hippocrates was the person who first described a migraine. So this is how long humans have been having migraines. Most of the time, and he described the migraine with the aura. And he wrote about his patient. Most of the time, he seemed to see something shiny before him, like a light, usually in part of the right eye. At the end of a moment, a violent pain supervened in the right temple, then in the head and the neck, vomiting. When it became possible, when the person vomited, then the pain tended to cease. And we'll talk more about migraines here in a short time. And so Galen was credited as giving migraines its modern name. And he wrote, each of these affections is a permanent pain in the head, liable to be increased by noises, cries, and a brilliant light. Drinking of wine or strong-smelling things which fill the head. And if you have a migraine, odors are a no-no, right? Fragrances are a no-no. So he also believed in counter irritation. So this counter irritation thing was very super popular up really until the 1800s. And so I just wanted to put migraine headaches in perspective, is these have always been there. All kinds of headaches have always been there, not just migraines. And it seems to be one of the afflictions that have just plagued us forever and ever. So we're going to talk about migraines in detail just in a little bit. But first I wanted to do a little quick thing about pain, because not everybody feels pain the same way. Pain is very individual, and what might be painful for one person might not be painful for another. So there are no machines that can measure pain. And so, a really interesting thought here is there are no animal models of pain that researchers can really use. It's so subjective. The most common measurement is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 0 being no pain, and 10 being severe pain. Where do you fall in the scale? I'm sorry, of 0 to 10. Where is your pain level? That is still the most accurate measurement of pain. So pain can be acute or it can be chronic. And with a headache, it can be both. It can come on acutely with sudden, sharp, horrible pains, and then it becomes, as time goes on, a chronic thing that can last days, weeks, or months. So just keep in mind, when somebody says, I have a really bad headache, that could be anywhere from I can still function and get around to I am totally debilitated and I can't even think.
Thanks for joining us. If you're interested in learning more, you can visit our website at matthewwoodinstituteofherbalism.com. You can find all of our social links in the description below, Also, please subscribe to our channel so you can keep up with the latest videos.